Hello. My name is Parker, and welcome to my channel if you're new here. If you haven't gone and checked out any of the previous videos of this event, I do suggest you do so now, as this is day 3 of Echoes of the Past October, a month-long prompt event directed by Typically Untypical. If you haven't gotten the chance to go check them out, please go do so now. They are an amazing author. Today's prompt is Everybody is a Book of Blood. Wherever we're opened, we're read. Olive Barker, Books of Blood, Volumes 1 to 3. And today's story is Sometimes Different is Better. If you have not already, please go read that description as there are trigger warnings. Please watch at your own risk. Again, at your own risk. Not my problem. And without further ado, this is Sometimes Different is Better, by none other than me. Ever since Remus could remember, he had an odd fascination for the human body, or more specifically, blood. Why was it different? What was it made out of? What about it made it so that so many animals, including humans, required of it? Of all different substances, what made this one so special? He wanted nothing more than to find this out. He knew the cells were high in iron, but he could name about 20 other substances that were just as high in iron, so that couldn't be it. If it was the liquidy consistency as well as the iron, sure, that narrowed it down more, but there was still a good amount of other substances he could name that would still do a fine substitute if that was the case. There had to be something else to it. Something that made it so that their body had to have blood of all other things. Remus wanted to know if people could run on other substances. What would happen if he were to substitute all the blood in somebody's body? Surely there had to be something else that could substitute ordinary blood, right? He wanted to find the answers, but he found that it was unethical. He didn't often find that he cared all that much for ethic codes, but he liked to follow laws when it came to things he was researching. If ethic codes told him he couldn't do it without a lot of consent, then he would have to wait until that was possible. After a few years of searching, he found a stage 4 leukemia patient who was young and desperately looking for an alternative to the usual chemotherapy. It wasn't working for him well, and he was only getting worse. Remus found he was empathizing with the boy, Virgil, and he wished he had some time and experience from the past that he struggled to find. He worked on one more girl, named Haley, and she passed soon after his alternative wasn't good enough to keep her stably alive. He remembered the glares he got at her funeral with a shudder. She was so much older, though. This boy was only around 25 and not doing well whatsoever. Would he speed up the process of the leukemia, or worse, kill him immediately when he started the process? He almost backed down, until he met the boy. He walked into the hospital room that was sickeningly clean, not unlike any other hospital room, but there were a few people in the room next to the bed. To his surprise, he recognized one of them, the one who had his hand laced with the boy, who knew, even with him turned away from him, who he was. "Ro?" he croaked out, his voice shuddering slightly. His head snapped up, and he turned towards him, his hands still linked with the boy's. He let out a small squeak upon seeing Remus. He had a solemn look and was in scrubs. He had never seen his brother in this way, and knowing the reason was for his boyfriend was devastating. Alright, so I am obligated to inform you that this is an experimental procedure that has only been performed once before now, Remus started. Virgil nodded, looking tiredly but also fondly at Remus's brother. The plan is to replace your blood with a different substance that your body can slowly switch back to viable blood, he explained, watching for reactions across the room. One boy attempted to stand up and argue, but a boy in a tie placed his hand up and signaled him to sit back down. He sighed, knowing that this was going to have to be a fight if they disagreed. "You 3 are his next of kin?" he murmured, despite knowing the answer was likely yes. "Actually, we are his medical surrogates," the boy in the tie responded. Roman and Remus made eye contact for a split second. Roman looked as though he didn't want to go through with it, but also didn't want the boy to pass. "I want to do it," Virgil stated strongly. Remus felt a surge of relief and guilt pass through him, but nodded, handing over a few documents for the people in the room to sign. They each grudgingly signed them, and Virgil signed them as quickly as he could and took Roman's hand again. Remus checked over each document, nodding slowly. "And so it begins," he grumbled. After a month or so of the process, Virgil was well enough to leave the hospital, and he was almost done with the process of replacing his blood. He was doing well, and the others were beyond happy with how it was working out. Remus was documenting his reactions to every transfusion. He was very proud of how well he was doing. Logan, the boy who constantly wore a tie, insisted on reading through every single documentation as just in case he was getting worse without them realizing it. "All right, Virgil, this is the last transfusion," Remus exclaimed with a smile. Roman, Logan, and Patton were watching with major grins. As he injected him, he watched as Virgil winced and closed his eyes, as he had done all the times before. As soon as it had been done, Virgil grinned and leaned against Roman. Remus was hit with the realization that he had done it. He had saved a life that surely would have been over by now if not for him. Not only that, but it was his brother's boyfriend out of solely luck. "Well, Virgil, you should go in to get checked if you still have leukemia. May the treatment have worked in your favor," Remus declared as he pulled out his notebook and wrote in some final notes. I do hope you guys have enjoyed today's episode. I will see you guys all tomorrow, and have a wonderful day.